Hello, IT 100 students. This is the first of a series of videos I'm going to make for you all to show you some of the features and tools that you're going to use for your milestone 2, your Excel spreadsheet, using the data that's provided to you from the final project scenario. So since I don't want to use the exact same data that you all are going to be using, I'm going to use a little bit different data in place of that. I'm going to be selecting pricing for a few food items. I just found this page from Bureau of Labor Statistics to provide me with some of those figures and to do a similar analysis to what you all will be doing. So here's the website. And if you scroll down, you'll see we've got a bunch of items here. I'm just going to use the first 3 since in your project you're also dealing with 3 specific categories for New Hampshire business products, their categories of sales. So we'll use 3 items here as well. So I'm going to use bread, flour, and fresh milk for my analysis. So before I get into the actual analysis, I just need to get the current data that I have into an Excel spreadsheet, just like you're going to do for part of your milestone. Now, I'm just going to use the 2013 figures here. I'm not going to use the 1913. So we'll consider this equivalent to the current sales figures that you've been provided with. So I've got these 3 numbers here. Bread in 2013 was $1.42 roughly. Flour was 52 cents roughly, and a gallon of milk was $3 and about 53 cents. So now I need to put this information into Excel. So the first thing I need to do is open up Excel and start a new workbook. So while that loads, I want to start thinking about how I'm going to format what I have. So a couple things that I want everybody to remember about formatting. It's important that when you put data into cells in Excel that you also include headers for each column. Now, the reason that's so important is so that other people looking at your work can understand what's going on. Now, here's my Excel. I'm just going to open up a blank workbook. We don't need a template for this or anything. If we were doing something a little bit more with more data or something more sophisticated, you might want to check out some of these templates, but for our work, we only have a few data points and a few graphs to make, so it's probably easier to just start with a blank workbook than to try and find a template that fits what we're trying to do. So I'll go ahead and open up a blank workbook. And I have my first tab. You'll notice here that it just says Sheet 1. We won't worry about changing that just yet. So what I'm going to do is I need to enter my data. Now, what some students might do is just start entering in the prices. So if I go back to this web page, I could just enter in 1.422 and then 0.524 and then 3.526. So that's a start, but it doesn't really tell us what this stuff is or what it means. So we're going to need to add a few things. Now we can insert a column. So if I hover over row A, to let you know how to do that, and then I right-click on A, you'll see I have all these options pop up. And I can insert a new column. So if I had wanted a column to the left of this data, I could add it that way. Or you could have just started in column B if you knew that you wanted to keep some things over here in column A. So now, over here, I'll probably want the category for each of these things, or the item. So just like you did with your table in your Word document, and you all did a really good job with that, your table in the Word document had, for most everybody, on the left-hand side, the category, the name of each category, and on the right-hand side, the data. That's a pretty typical way of doing it, and we're going to do it the same way here. So our first item was, I believe, bread. So bread, and then flour, and then milk. So we can keep it like that. And so this is a start. Now we have the start of a table, but we still don't know what these numbers are. So is it an amount? Is it a number of items? Is it the price? It's not clear. So we can do a couple of things to make that clearer. We can add titles for each of these columns, which I always recommend doing. Any data that you put in, you should always have a title for each column. So you just need to add a row. And again, the way we do that, let me undo it and I'll go slower, is you hover over the whole row. So you hover over so you get this little dark arrow and you right click and you get all these options, and you click insert. It's the same way. And now I can add a title. So I could say food item. I could title it, you know, whatever you feel is most appropriate. And then I'm going to extend this column a little bit so it doesn't look so smushed. To do that, I hover over this line and I regular click, left click, and I hold down the left click button and just drag it over to the side. That's one way to do it. You can also select the entire column and then right click, and you can format the column width to whatever you want it to be. I could make it something even like 12, and that will also change the width of the column. So there's a couple ways to do it. And then I also want to give this this column a title. So I could say price, or I could say 2013 price. I'm going to say 2013 price to be very specific. And again, this is a little smushed, so I'm going to want to make this column wider. Another way to adjust the column so that it's a good fit. So we saw two ways to do it over here. You can drag it wide, you can select it, and then type in a number for the column width. Another way to do it is when you get this icon right over the split between the two columns, you can double click and it will adjust it to the right fit. Now you might like that fit, you might want it to be a little bit wider, that's up to you, but that's another way to do it. And you'll notice if I do it over here, it will adjust it in a little bit more to make it tighter. How you want it is up to you. Whatever you think looks best in terms of formatting. All right, and so because this is a number, it's getting pushed to the left. Both of these titles are to the left, and you'll see the text is all to the left. But the numbers default to the right. Yes, to the right. So you can change that if you want to, or you can leave it as it is. If you want to change it so that everything is on the left, you can go up here to the alignments, and this is, you'll see align left, and you can align each of those left. It's not required. Now, another thing I want to do in terms of formatting is I'd like to put these into dollars. To do that, so that everyone knows that these are dollars, I'm just going to select everything. Now, one way to do that is to start on one, press the Shift key, and then the down button, and I select everything as I go down. You can also use your cursor and just drag and highlight it, or you can do them one at a time. So this is very simple. I just need to, once it's selected, press the dollar button, and it will format it. And another thing that you'll notice is that because it's in dollars, it's taken away that third decimal place and put it just to 2 decimals, including cents, which in this case we do want to keep since those decimals are being used. Sometimes when you use larger figures where the decimals are not necessary, you can take out the decimals. And the way you take out the decimals is up here. This is to decrease the decimals, and this one is to increase the decimals. So if I wanted to increase it to show all 3 of them, like I had from the table, I could do that. If I wanted to decrease them and just show the dollar, I wouldn't want to do that with this data, but other data you might. I can do that until there's no more decimals. For now, I'm just going to keep it at 2. So now I have all of my information put in. There's one more bit of formatting, actually 2 more bits of formatting that I want to show you, choices that are more aesthetic, but you might choose to make. I like to bold my titles. So again, I'm going to select both of those cells, or I could do them one at a time, but I'm selecting both of them. And to bold them, there's a couple different things you can do. You can press Control B, and it will get the job done. I'm going to undo that. You can also, selecting them, press this B button up here, which is for bold. So that's one way to do it. The other formatting piece that I would like to show you is to add borders. So there's lots of different borders you can add in terms of weighting, but the most common ones are listed for you up here. So there's bottom borders, top borders, all borders, a thick outside box border. Most of this is just, again, for aesthetics to make it easier for, in this case, the client to read. So maybe you want to do, so you need to select your data, and maybe you want to have all borders. So I could just click all borders and then everything gets a border. And then maybe I want the title to have a thick border. So I could just do a thick border just for that one. Again, this is just for the look of things. This isn't, necessarily how it has to be. Some of you might choose to color some of these. So if you wanted to have the title row have a different color, you could again select those items and use this fill paint bucket for any color you like. I would pick a color that makes it so that you can still read the words. So if you picked a dark color, it would be difficult to read. Although if you wanted a dark color, you could change the font to a light color, like white. But if we picked kind of a neutral color, like a light blue, that would work there too. So now I've input all my data and I'm ready to start the next step, which is making some graphs. And we'll cover that in the next video.